Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do another NHL 22 wish list video where I go through the prior videos, comments, and ideas and talk about each one. And again, guys, if you want to get involved in the conversation, make sure you leave a comment on this video and like it if you do enjoy it, as well as subscribe for the most up-to-date NHL 22 news that you can get anywhere on the internet. I will make sure that you guys have it almost immediately. All right, guys, so let's get into today's wish list video. And again, we do have to mention that we have a little bit more knowledge and how things are going to shape NHL 22. If you haven't watched my video about everything we know so far and the announcement of the beta, go check those out. But these comments were done about 3 weeks ago, so we didn't know that, or didn't have it confirmed that the game was going to be on 4 separate consoles. We now know the beta, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind as we go through some of the comments. So let's get it started here, and we'll start down at the bottom and just kind of go through like we always do. And again, make sure you subscribe that way with notifications on. That way, you get your comment read a little bit faster. So we will start with JJ. A Vasilevsky cover would be cool. Not gonna lie, it's been a minute since we've had a goaltender on the cover, and I believe NHL 14 with Brodeur would be the last one. Totally cool. Vasilevsky getting the cover. I think this cover is kind of one of the more wide open ones. And again, until Crosby says that he wants to be on one, the second that he does, he will be on one. But for anyone that's like, why isn't Crosby on the cover? That's why he doesn't personally want one or want to be on it. I have a feeling it's going to be McKinnon. Like, that would be him or Makar. That would be my guess. But Vasilevsky would be sweet as well. I'm completely okay with that. A shootout tournament from Ethan Van Haren. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm not saying. I'm just wondering if you mean like a mode. I personally would love a shootout mode inside of NA or inside of Hut. However, with all of the, I guess one thing I can kind of mention here is that the addition of modes in Hockey Ultimate Team this year is just not going to happen, in my opinion. I don't know how, because it's 4 separate games. NHL is suffers the most of pretty much every yearly AAA release video game in terms of player base, and because it's not cross console, we suffer a lot from that. And because it's not even cross gen this year, it's even worse. So the additions of modes just not really going to happen, because you're never going to find anyone if you add more modes in. However, when cross console does happen, my guess is that is by 2023. There's literally no excuse that a $1 billion company like EA doesn't have cross console and cross gen next year. So that would be my guess. Once that happens, I would love to see a shootout mode in Hockey Ultimate Team. I think that's a really fast, fun, quick way. Also gets you a little bit one-on-one with your new players and your cards. I think that would be sick as an addition to NHL. All right, Soapy McSoap. I know people have mentioned tilt and you've dismissed it. Maybe we shouldn't call it ice tilt then, but there is definitely something that happens in the game when a team with high-end cards plays a weaker team. Maybe it doesn't happen much in Div 1. It's unbelievably bad in lower divisions. It makes a mockery of card rating system. How can EA justify someone like myself who spent 9 months and hundreds of euros building a high-end team that can't move against a base team? And don't get me started on the people in champs who exploit this. It's the reason I won't be getting 22. It's extremely frustrating. So, actually, Florian kind of mentions this right here. The thing is that no one won the lawsuit about DDA. It was settled out of court, which basically means they had evidence, but decided to let it go for a specific amount of money. So EA was actually in a lawsuit with FIFA in terms of DDA, and technically we can't say that that was proven or dispelled. So, there is a reason. So here's my argument to this, okay? If you go and look at the Gaming World Championships, the GWC, the best players win. No matter, we started with 500 players, and the final 4 were all 4 players that anyone could have predicted, or it wouldn't have been surprised, I guess would be my case there. So if we start at the high end and work our way back, I think it isn't so much DDA or ice tilt. I think it is the way that the majority of the player base plays the game, and it allows for slower teams or less high-end teams to really take charge. The one thing I will say is that early on in Hut, so as the game goes on, maybe early on in Hut, when you have a dominant team early on, so let's say Well, you'll see it on my channel because, every year I do a big, huge thing for Hockey Ultimate Team. It's the main mode I play. You guys all want to see the best cards. So I invest quite a bit and I build an absolute super team. And you'll notice that speed is really noticeable among, let's say, I'm trying to think of a good example. McDavid. So base Connor McDavid, you can notice that. Same with Guy Lafleur. I don't know why, as the game goes on, that I think that a lot of people don't pay attention to the energy meter on their lines, and they just don't realize that players aren't switching. So the one thing that I would recommend to test this out and see if it really impacts you is switch off from auto line changes to manual line changes, and you'll really get the sense of being in control and making sure that your lines are at the highest energy. That being said, man, there's no way to prove this. There really isn't. I play with a base card team, and I'm a good player, and I'm in Division 1. And when I use a base card team now because I had to sell my team for a charity event. I can't keep up. Like, there's no separation. I think that's the one thing. You might be able to keep up, but, like, there's no separation. So, I don't know. It'll never be proven until it is, I guess. But I don't know. I have a different view on it, I guess, just from like the insider stuff that I see with the game changers and the actual development of the game. I would have a hard time believing that it's in there, but we'll never know. Tristan Cooper, how about being able to choose which player you switch to on D? For example, in FIFA, instead of pressing the normal player switch button that you would select the player closest to the ball, you can flick the right stick in the direction of the player you want to switch to. In NHL 2K, you can press R1. In 2K, you can press R1, switch to a player button above their head. So you can do this in NHL, man. Just hold down the player switch button and flick the right thumbstick in whatever direction, and you will be able to select that player back. Also, by holding down R2 or the player switch button, if you hold it down, you'll auto-select the furthest player back. A block shot stat. Block shots in NHL, it just doesn't register. I don't know why. But if you go at specifically those offline challenges where it's like get 2 block shots and it's damn near impossible, that'd be cool, but I don't know. It's like broken. I don't know why they can't register. I'd love to see that fixed. Can't they realize it's July? Give us 4 free 96 overalls already. I agree. To be honest, I think that this game specifically, NHL 21 did a very good job of protecting the market overall from past NHL games. So what I mean by that is that cards held their value much longer, but it also meant the cost of them stayed pretty high and pretty consistent all the way throughout, which I think has its pros and cons. It's in July now. It would be a really bad precedent for EA to just every July or when the game is done and everyone's moving on to just give out free cards, because that would really cheapen your grind to get those high-end cards, the people that still play this game quite a bit. And again, there are lots of players that still play this game in July. I know it's a meme that August that no one plays anymore. There's still quite a few players that play Hockey Ultimate Team. So it really crushes the value of the guys that grinded. But I think that there's a certain point, man, let it fly. Like every event or every week, give us an ability to do objectives to get a free, really high-end card. I would love that, because the new players that are trying to get into Hockey Ultimate Team just to try it out, there's no chance. They'll never be able to get a team to even compete. Whereas in MLB, again, I use MLB as a comparison a lot, and I don't think it's fair in a lot of senses. However, they do a completely different model. What MLB does is that they front load their content releases, meaning that we're at 99 MLB in basically July, early July, which is like 3 months into the game. If we were to do that in NHL, the game would be absolutely chalked. Like it would be the most annoying, hated thing in NHL. However, because of the way that MLB is played, you aren't reliant on your players, meaning that even if you have a 99 overall Chipper Jones, if you can't catch up to the high heat on Hall of Fame or change up in the zone, lay off it, it won't matter if you have 99s or whatever. However, in NHL, you cross the blue line with a 99 Gretzky in January, and it doesn't matter. The goaltenders that are released don't have attributes high enough to just stop it. So it's again, guys, I don't want to sound like an EA apologist. It is just from making content every single day for 2 years now in NHL. It is by far the hardest game to get right in terms of progression, not ruining gameplay, and giving out and getting content easily, but it definitely needs to come a lot easier. I think that it's It's something that I have been harping in the Game Changer chat a ton. You can ask the other Game Changers. Like, it's the one thing that I'm really passionate about is that there needs to be a way to get higher end cards for players that don't spend a lot of money or can't play 40 hours in a week, like, and rely on packs. Like, I just don't like that model, but I definitely think that they should look to give out more, free, more easily obtainable cards. Kyle Milligan says no more pay to win, and the stat caps ruined the game. It helped pay to win players and caused people to buy coins, not just packs, and EA just looks greedy. Okay, again, I don't. If we were following this logic, like pay to win, I would literally be undefeated. Because again, it's my NHL, or this game is literally my main source of income. It is what I do for a living. Investing a lot of money into it is for business, right? So I have a stacked team throughout the whole year. With that logic, if it was pay to win, I would win every game. However, if I go up against, I'm in Division 1 or in Hut Champs, I'll play against some of the pro players, and I'm not nearly good enough to take on those guys, and they have a much inferior team. But again, I don't know how you have an Ultimate Team mode that isn't, pay to win in a sense. Like, even MLB, if you spend more money, you are going to have a significant advantage. However, it's much easier to actually get coins in the game. But yeah, I don't know how in an Ultimate Team mode, not just NHL, but Madden, FIFA, NHL, MLB, I really don't know how you get away from that. And the stat caps ruined the game. I don't know what you mean by stat caps. I'm wondering if you mean the goaltender stat caps or going to 99. I'm not sure what you mean on that one. It helped pay to win players and caused people to buy coins. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean on that one, my man. Recluse Bear says, I'm holding out buying NHL games until they adopt more from the MLB The Show when acquiring cards. I'm done pouring my money into a slot machine for cards I don't want. I bought the game. I should be able to get the cards I want by playing, not spending more money. 1000% agree that it is way too much of a slot machine. I like your analogy there. I spent a lot of money in this game, and I didn't get a lot at all in terms of high-end cards. Like, I got an abundance of them. I learned now the correct way to spend money in this game, and I will have a video coming out if you want to spend money in the game. And again, I don't recommend you do. But if you do want to spend money, I know the better way to do it now. And again, like I said, I'll cover that in my NHL 22 launch videos. But yeah, the lack of guaranteed cards, in not only by playing the game but by spending money on packs, is just abysmal compared to other games. And again, it's something that I really want them to focus on. Give us a card or a program where you get like an 80 overall Mitch Marner, and if you score 5 goals or 10 goals with him in squad battles, ranked, or sorry, rivals or hut champs or anything like that, then he unlocks his 83. And now you've got to get 20 points with a specific player. And I think that those kinds of things would go a long way. Or just guaranteed rewards. Like, if we're going to buy a big pack, give us a topper like they do in Madden, or what they do in MLB, where it's like the balling as a habit pack, where you're guaranteed like a really decent card. I agree. It's tough. And the one thing I will say, though, this game does give you a lot in terms of rewards compared to prior NHL games. It has never been easier to build a free-to-play team in NHL because of the amount of packs that you can get. The problem is none of it's guaranteed. You'll get an abundance of cards that you can turn to gold collectibles, but the whole gold collectible system is an absolute joke, and I'm hoping to God that they get rid of it as a whole. But it is definitely easier than it's ever been. It's not guaranteed, which is, again, another huge thing. If you're going to invest time, don't just give me chances at packs. Give me something I know that I'm going to get. My opinion on Rivals, something I did in my personal wish list for NHL, is that I think that if you hit a certain spot in Rivals, you're guaranteed a card from the event that's going on. Not a master item, but like a card that is specific to hitting a certain level in Rivals. All right, so this is from Vince. They need to remove the glitch from the goal line. I don't mind seeing Stamkos or a shooter of that caliber snipe it from the angle 1 to 3 times, but I shouldn't see Keandre Miller score that goal. Okay, so yeah, this is another big issue, is that there was no gameplay patches in NHL 21. The one thing I will say is that NHL 20, they went the other route, and every time the community bitched, they did a patch, and it ended up being awful. Everyone complained they wanted the beta patch back in NHL 20. It happened in like March or February. They put it back in, and it was absolutely god awful. I'm NHL 21's gameplay among all the other gameplays. I actually hate the least. I don't mind it. The one thing I will say is that those glitches that you're talking about, he's talking about the goal line where you hold the puck forehand and you come around the net and then you fire the puck when it's on the bottom of the faceoff dot. I do it a ton. If you were from my stream, I call it the Jack Hughes goal because when I had the Jack Hughes, the Young Gun card or Young Gun card or 2023 card, whatever it's called, I scored it like once every other game. And the face-off glitch or the face-off play where it'll auto sauce half the time, so you really can't intercept it even if you're trying to. Those are go-to goals that there's really no way to stop, and those need to be patched out. I'm okay with the other stuff, like, defensive awareness and passes getting through. I wish it was tuned a little bit less, but the glitches, I 100% agree. Those ones, how the fact that they weren't patched is really frustrating. I'm guessing it's because they had to develop 4 separate games this year, but yeah, really no excuse on that one. I agree. Drake says Hut Champs should play like GWC when you draft a team and play with that team. Perhaps even in Rush, it should be 4 to 8 players in a draft pool and have a tourney. So that would be a lot because you'd have to expect players to be readily available to do a tournament at all times, and that just won't happen, especially with the fact that it's on 4 consoles. Hut Champs playing like GWC, though, what I think should happen in Hut Champs is if you play MLB and you play events, there's an overall that you can't hit. So you can't have, let's say the overall is set at 90. Your team cannot be rated overall higher than 90. So you can stack your team with a few diamond cards that are unbelievable, but then you're going to have to throw some garbage ones in there. I think Hut Champ should run the same way. I think that there should be an overall, limit where you can play a 99 on your team, but then you're going to have like a 78 overall on your 4th line, those kinds of things. I would love that in Hut Champs, and it should definitely be there to kind of bring down the, what you see. Again, you give a pro player a team like mine, and it's just so. I agree. I think that Hut Champ should be an overall system, not like a draft, but a little bit overall. R2B2 sim gameplay and presentation went totally downhill since NHL 19. Cross creases has never been so much of the meta in years past as this year, and the problem is, too, is goalies literally mean nothing unless you're using them, which in games past that wasn't the case. I'd much rather play a 4-2 game than a 9-7 game. By the way, we used to have goal songs in the NBC presentation. Since that left in 2021, basically there's no immersion concerning presentation. It's never been this boring or stale to play NHL games, whether it's Hut or franchise. And as a more casual player, the game took a huge step back. Take away divisions with rivals is just always sweaties. When I get time to play games, it's not exactly fun after an exhausting day of real life, yet I was told to get over it by big boy streamers. Those are my general issues with 21. 20 was much more enjoyable game. 21 for me was the worst of the next gen. By the way, longtime follower since you exploded. Thank you, my man. So a lot to unpack here. First of all, the presentation, so I can speak to that. So the reason why they went from Doc Emmerich and Eddie Olczyk to Zabolski and Ferraro is both of them live in Vancouver. So you see a lot more different recordings and sound bites from them because they record multiple times throughout the year. Olczyk and Doc obviously don't live in Vancouver, and they were very, very difficult to get them in the studio. So they're commentating, and what they said was extremely bland for years and years. In terms of like the presentation, going away from NBC obviously means that the presentation lacks a little bit more of that like seriousness. And especially if you're playing like franchise mode, you kind of like that. However, I don't mind it, like the replay system and the rail cam and all of that in terms of like just like game, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, I don't mind. But I can see what you're saying about the NBC. I don't know what'll happen come ESPN. I doubt there'll be any change though, because again, Sabolsky and Ferraro just... I think that, first of all, I think they're really good, and it's much more accessible. I don't know, though. With ESPN, we might see a change in the next couple of years. I have no idea. In terms of user and cross creases getting through, that has always been the go-to goal since, like, well, I mean, NHL 15 and 16 was roughly, that was, like, prior to that, it was all just the short side wrister. Like, that was the only goal you would score. But, I mean, cross-ice one-timers are really the only, like, that is the go-to what you're looking. That's why NHL players cycle the puck. It does seem to go in this year a lot more, and I think the big issue was that when you manually control the defenseman, if you go in and look in the replay, they didn't move their stick or make a motion to intercept the pass, meaning that when you manually control the defenseman and there was a pass through a bunch of bodies, unless it directly hit the stick, it didn't do anything. So what I mean by that is it's layering. So it's like the stick and the body of the player is one layer. Whereas, if they were able to make it a separate layer, that would mean that maybe they can move the puck or they would make a motion to intercept. I noticed that when I put my defenseman back on the strong side, meaning lefties on the left and righties on the right, because of the gameplay developer, Ben Ross, who is the gameplay developer for NHL, he actually mentioned, I wonder if that's the issue. And I notice a lot less of cross-ice passes getting through. Yeah, I'm curious to see next year. I really think that cross-ice passes will be nerfed. I would be stunned if they're not. But yeah, I agree. Now, you think it's crazy to hear that you think that 20 was better than 21. I mean, again, I have a different experience. I think that 21 was a lot better than 20. I know the removal of online seasons seems like a step back, but it offered no rewards. The only thing it did offer is a much easier online gameplay. And it's funny because, like, I feel like this is an issue with gaming overall. When I was a kid a long time ago, like, you would play games online just to have fun. No matter what the video game now is, you are tailored and, like, conditioned to be the best at it, like, want to be the best at it. So all your focus is on, like, divisions and score and how many times you win. You just don't have fun unless you're, like, awesome at it, and only so many people can be that really good. And I agree, when you get home from work and having to go in to play against skill-based matchmaking, which Rivals is, it's very, very frustrating because you're going to have to sweat. But what you're basically saying is you want to be able to go into a game and kick the piss out of someone who's much worse than you. And while I understand that, I mean, hell, I stream the game every day for an entire year. Like, obviously, I'd much rather have what I have now, where I have to play Division One pro players, and I don't have the same thumb skill anymore. So it's a very difficult balancing act. I think that the change from online season to Rivals was good in the sense that if Rivals was done correctly and the correct changes were made to it, it would be a phenomenal mode. I think that because Rivals is so empty, that's the issue. And especially because the player base is separated into four, it's tough because you can't do that now. So it's gonna be awfully tough to see. I do think that more modes should be added. A battle royale mode like what MLB has, where you draft a team and your goal is to win 12 games before losing 2, and you'll get substantial rewards. I want to see that in NHL. I think that's incredible. It'd be draft champs with much better rewards, those kind of thing. I'd love to see a shootout mode. But yeah, I don't know how they fix that. I think it's just that's an issue with, I think, just games in general. Like, it's very difficult to load into a game and not have, like, Timmy Trampoline have 4,000 goals, and you know what I mean? Like, it's tough. It's tough. But we'll see. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's wish list video. If you want to be in the next video, just leave a comment down below, and I'll try to get to as many as I possibly can. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 50,000 subs, man. We're going to get it this year. All right, guys, have a good one.